In the shimmering world of high society, Alex lived a life most could only dream of. As the sole heir to his father's vast fortune, he was the golden boy, the prince of the city. Parties on yachts, luxury cars for every day of the week, and a trail of extravagant purchases were his signature. He saw his father's empire not as a legacy to build upon, but as an endless bank account, a playground for his whims. His father, Mr. Harrison, a man who had built his wealth from the ground up, watched his son's antics with a heavy heart, his warnings and advice falling on deaf ears. Alex believed his birthright was a guarantee, a golden ticket that could never be revoked. He was the heir, after all. What could possibly go wrong? Meanwhile, in the quiet corridors of the Harrison estate and the bustling offices of Harrison Court, another man worked tirelessly. His name was Samuel. Samuel had started as a junior assistant to Mr. Harrison years ago. He wasn't family by blood, but his loyalty and dedication were absolute. He saw the company not just as a business, but as Mr. Harrison's life's work, a testament to a great man's vision. Samuel learned every facet of the business, not because he was asked, but because he cared. He was the first to arrive and the last to leave. While Alex was popping champagne bottles, Samuel was poring over financial reports, finding ways to save the company money and secure its future. He treated every dollar as if it were his own hard-earned savings. Harrison wasn't blind. He saw the stark contrast between the two young men in his life. He saw his son, consumed by the glitter of wealth, taking everything for granted. And he saw Samuel, a man of humble origins, who cherished the value of hard work and respected the empire he had built. He tried talking to Alex, showing him the ropes, hoping to ignite a spark of responsibility. "Son," he'd say, "this company is more than just money. It's people's livelihoods. It's a legacy." But Alex would just laugh it off. "Don't worry, Dad. I'll hire people to handle the boring stuff. You built it so I could enjoy it, right?" Each flippant reply was like a small crack in Mr. Harrison's heart. One evening, a crisis hit Harrison Court. A major international deal was on the verge of collapsing due to a sudden market shift. It required immediate, decisive action. Harrison called Alex, hoping this would be the moment his son would finally step up. But Alex's phone went straight to voicemail. He was on a private jet to a remote island for an impromptu festival, completely unreachable. In a panic, Mr. Harrison called Samuel. Without a moment's hesitation, Samuel, who was about to go home to his family, turned his car around and raced back to the office. All night, he and Mr. Harrison worked, analyzing data, making calls, and formulating a new strategy. By dawn, they had not only saved the deal but had managed to turn the crisis into an even more profitable opportunity. As the sun rose, Mr. Harrison looked at Samuel, his eyes filled with a mixture of relief and a deep, painful realization. Months passed, and Mr. Harrison's health began to decline. He knew his time was short. He summoned his lawyers and made his final arrangements. Alex, hearing of his father's worsening condition, finally returned, not with remorse, but with an air of impatient entitlement. He was already picturing his name on the company headquarters, planning the upgrades he'd make with his inheritance. He walked through the mansion as if he already owned it, oblivious to the quiet sorrow of the household staff and the concerned presence of Samuel, who was ensuring Mr. Harrison was comfortable in his final days. Alex saw Samuel as nothing more than the help, a glorified servant who would soon be taking orders from him. The day came when the family and key employees were gathered for the reading of Mr. Harrison's will. The air was thick with tension. Alex sat at the head of the table, a smug smile playing on his lips. He imagined the lawyer's words, "To my beloved son, Alex, I leave my entire estate, Harrison Court, and all my assets." He was ready for his coronation. The lawyer cleared his throat and began to read. He went through a few minor bequests to charities and distant relatives. Then, he got to the main part of the will. "To my son, Alex," the lawyer read, and Alex leaned forward, his smile widening. I leave the small guest house on the edge of the estate, and a trust fund with enough money to cover his basic living expenses for the rest of his life, on the condition that he seeks financial counseling. The room fell into a stunned silence. Alex's face went from smug to confused, then to pure, unadulterated rage. "What is this, a joke?" he screamed, jumping to his feet. "There must be a mistake. The company, the houses, the money. It's all mine." The lawyer simply shook his head and continued reading. "The remainder of my estate, including my primary residence, all my personal assets, and my controlling stake in Harrison Corp., I leave to a man who has shown more loyalty, respect, and wisdom than my own blood. A man who I have come to see as the true heir to my life's work, Mr. Samuel Carter." A collective gasp filled the room. All eyes turned to Samuel, who sat in the corner, his face pale with shock. He hadn't expected this. He had served Mr. Harrison out of love and respect, never for reward. Alex stared at Samuel, his eyes burning with hatred and disbelief. The servant, the help. He was inheriting everything. The fortune, the power, the life that was supposed to be his. It was a nightmare. Alex lunged towards Samuel, shouting accusations, but was restrained by security. As he was escorted out, his cries of "It's not fair, it's mine," echoed down the hallway, a pathetic end to his reign as the Golden Prince. Stripped of the endless wealth he had always taken for granted, Alex was forced to live a life he had never imagined. The guest house felt like a prison, and the modest monthly allowance from the trust was a constant reminder of what he had lost. For the first time, he had to think about budgets, about needs versus wants. His fair-weather friends disappeared overnight. The world that had once worshipped him now saw him as a cautionary tale. He was alone, humbled, and forced to confront the person he had become. The emptiness he felt wasn't just about the loss of money, it was the crushing weight of his father's final judgment. Meanwhile, Samuel, initially overwhelmed, stepped into his new role with the same humility and dedication he had always shown. He knew he wasn't just managing a company, he was honoring a legacy. He introduced programs to support employees, invested in sustainable growth, and created a foundation in Mr. Harrison's name to help underprivileged youth gain access to education. He didn't move into the main house, choosing to stay in his own modest home. He proved that true wealth isn't about what you have, but about what you do with it. He showed that character, not bloodline, is what truly defines a person's worth. Harrison's final act wasn't an act of cruelty towards his son, it was the ultimate lesson in value, a lesson Alex was finally, and painfully, beginning to learn. Thanks for watching. This story is a powerful reminder that inheritance is not a right, but a responsibility. If you were moved by this story, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more content like this, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.